The morning started like any other in the small farming community of Millbrook. Sarah Chen was hanging laundry on the line behind her house when the sky turned an unnatural shade of purple. At 19, she had never seen anything like the massive ships that descended from the clouds, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to bend light around it. The Zorathi Collective had been watching Earth for months through their long-range scanners. To them, humans were nothing more than primitive creatures barely worth their attention. But their reproductive scientists had discovered something interesting about human females between the ages of 18 and 25. Their genetic compatibility with Zorathi biology was remarkably high, making them perfect candidates for their breeding programs. Commander Vexastar stood on the bridge of the flagship, his forearms crossed as he watched the harvest begin. His species had conquered 47 worlds, and humans would be no different. These soft, weak creatures had no real technology, no unified military, and certainly no one who could threaten the mighty Zorathi fleet. Sarah screamed as the tractor beam lifted her from her backyard. All around Millbrook and dozens of other small towns across the globe, young women were being pulled into the sky. The aliens had done their homework, targeting rural areas where resistance would be minimal and response times slow. Emma Rodriguez was studying at her kitchen table when the beam caught her. At 22, she had been planning to start graduate school in the fall. Those plans evaporated as she found herself floating helplessly toward the alien craft. Maya Okafor had been working in her family's garden when the purple light enveloped her. The 20-year-old had dreams of becoming a doctor. Instead, she was now cargo. In total, the Zorathi took 317 young women from Earth that day. To them, it was a routine collection. They had performed similar harvests on other primitive worlds. The pattern was always the same. Initial panic, some futile resistance from local authorities, then acceptance as the inferior species realized they were powerless. What the Zorathi didn't know was that among those they had taken was Sarah Chen, and Sarah Chen's father was not like other humans. Marcus Chen sat in his small workshop behind the farmhouse, cleaning his hunting rifle when he heard Sarah's screams. By the time he burst through the back door, she was already 50 feet in the air, caught in some kind of energy field that pulled her toward the massive ship hovering above. Marcus had seen impossible things before. He had been Delta Force for 22 years before retiring to this quiet farm. He had fought in conflicts the public never knew existed, against enemies both human and otherwise. The government had many secrets, and Marcus Chen had been one of them. His service record was classified so deeply that only 5 people in the Pentagon even knew it existed. 167 confirmed kills across 4 continents, but those were just the official numbers. The real count was higher, much higher. Marcus had been the military's solution to problems that couldn't be solved with conventional weapons or tactics. He had earned his reputation during the Kandahar incident, when he eliminated an entire enemy compound from a distance of 2 miles using modified ammunition he had designed himself. His longest confirmed kill was 3 miles, 400 yards, made with a rifle he had built in his workshop and bullets he had machined by hand. The government had tried to keep him active well past normal retirement age, but Marcus wanted out. He wanted peace. He wanted to raise his daughter and forget about the 167 faces that visited him in his sleep. But as he watched his little girl disappear into that alien ship, Marcus Chen felt something he hadn't experienced in 5 years. The cold, focused calm that had made him the most feared sniper in human history. The ship was already moving away, heading toward the upper atmosphere. Marcus ran to his workshop and pulled out his satellite phone, one of the few pieces of equipment he had kept from his military days. The number he dialed was answered on the first ring. "Chen?" The voice belonged to Colonel Harrison, his former commanding officer. They took Sarah, Marcus said simply. There was a long pause. Harrison knew exactly who Marcus was talking about, and more importantly, what Marcus was capable of when motivated. I'll get you everything we have on the contacts, Harrison said. This happened in 47 locations worldwide. We're tracking 3 main ships leaving Earth's atmosphere. Which one has my daughter? The largest one, heading toward the asteroid belt. Marcus, these aren't terrorists or foreign agents. These are actual aliens with technology we don't understand. Marcus was already moving through his workshop, pulling weapons from hidden compartments. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, selecting tools that most people would never see in their lifetimes. Doesn't matter, he said. They made one mistake. What's that? Marcus loaded his custom rifle with ammunition that officially didn't exist. Each bullet had been crafted specifically for maximum damage at extreme range, designed to penetrate advanced armor that conventional weapons couldn't touch. They took my daughter. The line went quiet. Harrison had served with Marcus for 15 years, and he knew that tone. It was the voice of the man who had ended wars that the history books would never record. As night fell over Millbrook, Marcus Chen stood in his backyard looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, Sarah was scared and alone, but she wouldn't be for long. The Zorathi Collective had just declared war on humanity's deadliest weapon, and they didn't even know it yet. In orbit above Earth, Commander Vextar reviewed the day's collection with satisfaction. The human females had been processed and placed in stasis pods for the journey back to the Collective's breeding facilities. It had been almost too easy. His communications officer approached with the ship's departure clearance. Commander, we are ready to begin the journey home. The other harvest ships are awaiting your signal. Excellent, Vextar said, his 4 eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Set course for Zorathi Prime. Let the Collective know that Earth has proven to be an excellent source of breeding stock. As the 3 massive ships accelerated away from Earth, none of their crews could have imagined that in a small workshop in a place called Millbrook, a single human was preparing to follow them across the galaxy. 12 hours after the abduction, Marcus Chen stood in a classified facility buried 3 levels beneath Pentagon Sub-Basement C. Colonel Harrison had pulled strings that officially didn't exist to get him here, to a room that wasn't on any government blueprint. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the military's chief xenobiologist, spread holographic displays across the metal table between them. We've been tracking signals like this for 18 months, she explained, gesturing to the energy patterns recorded during the abductions. This isn't their first visit to our solar system. Marcus studied the data with the same intense focus he once used to calculate wind drift at impossible distances. Tell me about their technology. Their ships use some form of gravitational manipulation for propulsion. Our satellites tracked them accelerating beyond Mars before they disappeared from conventional sensors. Dr. Reeves pulled up another display. But we've been working on something. She led Marcus to a sealed chamber where a sleek black craft sat under bright lights. It looked nothing like any human spacecraft he had ever seen. We reverse-engineered this from wreckage we found in the Sahara 2 years ago, Dr. Reeves explained. It's a scout ship from what we now know was an earlier survey mission by these same aliens. The technology is incredibly advanced, but we've managed to make it functional. Marcus walked around the craft, his trained eye taking in every detail. How fast? Faster than anything in our current fleet. It can follow their gravitational signature, essentially tracking them through space like following footprints. Dr. Reeves handed him a tablet. We've also decoded some of their communications. The ship your daughter is on is called the Harvester Prime. It's heading to a space station in the asteroid belt before making the jump to their home system. How long do I have? Based on their transmission logs, they'll remain at the station for 48 hours to transfer cargo and refuel. After that, they jump to their territory, and we lose any chance of tracking them. Colonel Harrison stepped forward. "Marcus, I have to ask, are you sure about this? This isn't like anything you've faced before." Marcus turned to face his former commander, and Harrison saw something in his eyes that made him take a step back. It was the same look Marcus had worn during the Cambodian operation, when he had single-handedly eliminated an entire enemy base to extract 3 captured Rangers. "They have my daughter," Marcus said quietly. "That makes it exactly like everything I've faced before." The next 18 hours were a blur of preparation. Marcus worked with military engineers to modify the alien scout ship's weapon systems. While the craft's original armament was impressive, Marcus needed something more precise, more personal. He installed his custom rifle system into the ship's main weapon mount, linked to the vessel's targeting computer. The combination of human marksmanship and alien technology created something unprecedented. The ship could now deliver pinpoint accuracy at distances measured in thousands of miles rather than yards. Dr. Reeves provided him with intelligence gathered from the intercepted communications. The Zorathi Collective was an empire of conquest, with a strict hierarchy based on military achievement. They viewed other species as either resources or obstacles. Females from primitive worlds were considered valuable breeding stock, while males were usually eliminated as unnecessary. "They have no concept of individual attachment," Dr. Reeves explained as Marcus loaded specialized ammunition into the ship's magazine. "To them, taking these girls is no different from harvesting grain. They can't comprehend why a single human would pursue them across space." Marcus smiled grimly as he checked the ship's life support systems. "Then they're about to learn something new." The scout ship launched from a facility in Nevada that didn't appear on any map. Marcus felt the alien craft respond to his touch like a finely crafted instrument. The technology was intuitive in a way that surprised him. Within minutes, he was accelerating beyond Earth's orbit, following the gravitational distortions left by the Zorathi fleet. As Earth fell away behind him, Marcus opened a secure channel to Colonel Harrison. "Marcus, you're showing green across all systems," Harrison's voice crackled through the comm. "We're reading your position as approaching Mars orbit. The gravitational trail is still fresh." "Copy that," Marcus replied, his hands steady on the alien controls. "Any word from the other families?" "The President has been briefed. Officially, this is a deep space reconnaissance mission. Unofficially, you have authorization to use any force necessary to complete your objective." Marcus understood. He was operating beyond the reach of human law, in a space where the only rules were the ones he chose to follow. It was a familiar feeling. The asteroid belt came into view after 6 hours of hard acceleration. The alien tracking system guided him toward a massive structure hidden among the floating rocks. Marcus had seen orbital platforms before, but nothing like this. The Zorathi station was a sprawling complex of interconnected modules and docking bays, easily large enough to house a small city. His ship's sensors detected 3 massive vessels docked at the station's primary bays, including the Harvester Prime. Marcus positioned his craft behind a large asteroid, roughly 8,000 miles from the station. The distance would have been impossible for any human weapon, but the combination of alien technology and his own skills made it manageable. He activated the ship's scanning systems and began cataloging targets. The station's defensive systems were extensive, but designed to repel large-scale attacks. They wouldn't be watching for a single small craft hidden among the asteroids. Through the ship's enhanced optics, Marcus could see movement on the station's observation decks. Tall, 4-armed figures in elaborate uniforms moved between chambers filled with what looked like stasis pods. His jaw tightened as he realized those pods contained the captured women. Marcus began calculating angles, distances, and environmental factors. The vacuum of space eliminated wind drift, but he had to account for the station's rotation, the gravitational effects of nearby asteroids, and the movement patterns of his targets. He had been studying the station for 2 hours when his comm system detected an incoming transmission. The signal was being broadcast from the Harvester Prime toward Zorathi space. Marcus activated the translation software Dr. Reeves had installed and listened to Commander Vextar's report to his superiors. The harvest from the third planet exceeded expectations, the alien commander was saying. The specimens show excellent genetic compatibility. We should be able to begin the breeding program immediately upon arrival. Any resistance from the local population? Another voice asked. Vextar's laugh was a sound like grinding metal. Negligible. A few primitive aircraft attempted to pursue us, but they lack the technology to pose any threat. The species is soft, weak, and divided, perfect for exploitation. Marcus listened to the entire transmission, his finger resting lightly on the weapon's trigger. With each word, his resolve hardened. These creatures had made the mistake of thinking humans were helpless. As the transmission ended, Marcus began his final preparations. He loaded a special round into his rifle, one of only 12 he had brought. Each bullet had been crafted in his workshop using materials that technically didn't exist, designed for a single purpose, to punch through the most advanced armor at impossible distances. Marcus centered the crosshairs on Commander Vextar as the alien stood on his observation deck, admiring his captured prizes. The shot would travel 8,000 miles through the vacuum of space, guided by technology that blended human precision with alien innovation. Sarah, Marcus whispered, thinking of his daughter sleeping in one of those stasis pods. Daddy's here. His finger tightened on the trigger. The hunt was about to begin. The shot traveled 8,000 miles in 4.2 seconds. Commander Vextar was examining a holographic display of breeding schedules when the specially designed bullet passed through his skull. The alien alloy of the station's observation window and the bulkhead behind him before finally embedding itself in a support beam. The Zorathi commander had just enough time to register surprise before his body collapsed to the deck, purple blood pooling around his forearms. Chaos erupted on the station. Alarms blared as Zorathi security forces tried to understand what had happened. Their sensors detected no enemy ships, no incoming missiles, nothing that could explain their commander's sudden death. Marcus was already moving, using their confusion to his advantage. He activated the scout ship's stealth systems and began his approach to the station. The next 17 minutes would determine whether Sarah and the other captives lived or died. His second shot took out the station's primary communication array, silencing their calls for reinforcement before they could reach the other Zorathi ships. The third shot destroyed the gravitational anchor that kept the Harvester Prime locked to the docking bay. Sub-Commander Kextal assumed command of the station, his 3 hearts racing as he tried to understand the attack. "Report!" he barked at his tactical officer. "Unknown weapon, unknown source," came the reply. "Long range, extreme precision. Our commander was eliminated from a distance of approximately 20,000 kilometers. "Impossible," Kextal hissed. "No species in this sector has that technology." His communications officer looked up from his station, confusion clear in his 4 eyes. "Sir, I'm detecting a small craft approaching from the asteroid field. Configuration unknown." Marcus was now close enough to see individual Zorathi moving through the station's corridors. He activated the ship's internal weapon systems, modified human firearms that could operate in the vacuum of space. His 4th shot punched through the station's hull and eliminated the chief security officer who was organizing the defense. The 5th took out the tactical systems officer trying to lock onto his ship. Marcus docked with the station's auxiliary bay, a section designed for small maintenance craft. The alien airlock systems recognized his ship as friendly, another oversight by the overconfident Zorathi. He entered the station wearing a modified spacesuit equipped with gear that had never appeared in any military manual. Marcus moved through the corridors like a ghost, his movements precise and deadly. The first Zorathi guard he encountered never saw him coming. Marcus appeared from a maintenance shaft, his combat knife finding the weak point in the alien's armor. The creature fell silently, its weapon clattering to the deck. Sub-Commander Kextal was coordinating the search for the infiltrator when one of his officers reported another impossible development. "Sir, our perimeter guards are going silent one by one. Whoever is aboard the station is eliminating our security systematically." "How many intruders?" Kextal demanded. "Unknown, sir. Possibly a full assault team." They had no way of knowing that their assault team was a single human father with a very particular set of skills. Marcus reached the detention level where the stasis pods were kept. The sight of 300 sleeping women, including his daughter, filled him with a cold rage that had no place for mercy. Two Zorathi technicians were monitoring the pods when Marcus entered the chamber. They turned toward him, their 4 eyes wide with shock. Neither lived long enough to sound an alarm. Marcus quickly analyzed the stasis systems. Dr. Reeves had briefed him on Zorathi technology, and he found the manual release controls exactly where she had said they would be. He began the revival sequence, starting with Sarah's pod. As the stasis field faded, Sarah's eyes fluttered open. She saw her father's face through his helmet visor and started to cry. "It's okay, baby," Marcus whispered, helping her sit up. "Daddy's here." "How?" Sarah gasped, still weak from the stasis process. "Later," Marcus said, handing her a breathing mask from his pack. "Right now, we need to get everyone out of here." The revival process would take 20 minutes for all the pods to cycle through safely. Marcus used that time to prepare for the inevitable counterattack. He sealed the chamber's main entrance and set up defensive positions using equipment that would have made his old Delta Force teammates proud. Sub-Commander Kextal led the assault personally, bringing 40 of his best warriors. They breached the detention level expecting to find a team of enemy special forces. Instead, they found empty corridors and silence. Marcus had learned patience in the mountains of Afghanistan and the jungles of South America. He waited until the Zorathi forces had spread out, searching the maze of corridors around the detention center. Then he began his work. The first squad fell to precisely placed explosives that Marcus had set while moving through the station. The second squad walked into a kill zone where Marcus waited with a modified assault rifle that fired rounds designed to penetrate Zorathi armor. Sub-Commander Kextal found himself alone in a corridor filled with the bodies of his warriors, facing a single human in modified battle armor. "You!" Kextal snarled, raising his weapon. "You are the one who killed Commander Vextar." "Among others," Marcus replied calmly. "You are only one being. How is this possible?" Marcus smiled grimly behind his visor. "You made a mistake when you took those girls. You assumed we were all helpless." The sub-commander fired his energy weapon, but Marcus was already moving. 22 years of combat experience guided his steps as he rolled behind cover and came up firing. His first shot took off 2 of Kextal's arms. The second ended the conversation permanently. By the time Marcus returned to the detention center, most of the women were awake and mobile. Sarah had taken charge, helping the others prepare for evacuation using emergency supplies Marcus had brought from the scout ship. "Dad," she said as he entered, "some of these girls are hurt, and I don't think everyone's going to fit in your ship." Marcus had already considered that problem. "We're not taking my ship," he said, leading them toward the docking bay. "We're taking theirs." The Harvester Prime was a massive vessel designed to transport large numbers of captives. More importantly, it had the range to reach Earth and the defensive systems to protect them during the journey. Marcus had spent years studying enemy equipment and turning it against its owners. The Zorathi ship's control systems were complex but logical, and he had Sarah help him translate the alien symbols, while the other women secured themselves in the passenger compartments. As the Harvester Prime detached from the station, Marcus sent a signal toward Earth using the ship's long-range communications array. "Harrison, this is Marcus. Package secured, all units accounted for. Coming home." Colonel Harrison's voice crackled back across the void. "Copy that, Marcus. Outstanding work. What's your ETA?" Marcus looked at the navigation display, calculating their course back to Earth. 4 days at current speed. Harrison? Yeah? Make sure the President knows that humanity isn't as helpless as these things thought. Behind them, the Zarathi station hung silent among the asteroids, its corridors filled with the bodies of beings who had learned too late that some species were not meant to be prey. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, Sarah stood beside her father on the ship's bridge, watching their home world approach. "Dad," she said quietly, "what happens when more of them come?" Marcus thought about the weapons technology they had captured, the intelligence gathered from the station's computers, and the message they had just sent to the Zarathi collective. "Then they'll know they're not hunting farmers and students anymore," he said. "They'll know they're at war with Earth." In the cargo holds below, 316 other young women were already making plans. Some talked about returning to their families and trying to rebuild their lives. Others spoke of different futures, of preparing for the day when humanity would need to defend itself against threats from the stars. The Zarathi collective would eventually send more ships to investigate what had happened to the Harvester Prime. When they did, they would find that Earth had changed. The planet that had seemed so helpless and divided was now united by a simple understanding. They were not alone in the universe, and they were not defenseless. Marcus Chen had taught his daughter to shoot when she was 12 years old, the same way his father had taught him. As the Harvester Prime entered Earth's atmosphere, he realized that those lessons would soon be more important than ever. The war was just beginning, but humanity had just served notice that they intended to win it.